back again with y'all with the amazing Frankie Lovato Jr. And he is going to show y'all how to put your equicizer through his or her paces. So, Frankie, take it away.
Thank you, Templeton. Well, this is interesting. It's a great question because you see you're sitting in a Western saddle, I'm sitting in an English saddle. And if we ever do go to an expo, if we had 5 equicizers lined up, each of them could have a different saddle, somebody will walk up and say, well, I don't ride Western,
right, so
I want to ride the English one. And the funny story is that every one of these horses, this same horse could be used by a child in a wheelchair as a champion jockey could in Japan. You know, you just, the same model. Basically, it's a very simple concept. I don't like to call it a simulator.
Right.
I feel like that's just, that's just saying way too much. But it does allow you to simulate riding. And no matter what your discipline is, you can practice it. Like I mentioned, the bale of straw. When I was a kid, I used to practice on a bale of straw as a jockey, and that doesn't move.
No.
You know? So I'd get there and pretend I had a saddle. I'd take bale and twine and put my stirrups up, and I would push on absolutely nothing.
Oh my gosh.
And when I was a kid, I used to try to build things out of wood and stuff. But like I mentioned before, it wasn't until I had my racing accident that I said, I got to do something now. Because there was never, my doctor couldn't let me ride a horse to find out if I could ride a horse.
Exactly.
So I was a catch-22, and I had to create something that answered the question whether I was going to ride again or not, because it was a little scary there. One time my doctor said, there's a chance you may never ride again. So I had to learn how to walk again, all the rehabilitation I had to go through, but nothing simulated riding a horse. So anyway, I got off track there a little bit.
I gotta say too, just what a strong, tough, incredible individual you are to go, I gotta make something work. I gotta figure this out. And you did, and
I was in a corner and I wanted to
get
out.
for doing it, so go cowboy go.
Thank you, Templeton. Well, anyway, like I mentioned, we have 2 different saddles on here. So any discipline, think of a discipline or anything that you would need to practice riding a horse.
Right.
It could be as simple as your reins. You know, a lot of people have a difficult time lengthening or shortening the reins, gathering the reins, keeping even reins, and rein pressure. So you got, sometimes when people are in motion, they kind of lose their rhythm. If they get a little bit behind the rhythm, what they go for is they brace on the horse's face.
Right.
And for some of the top riders, that's one thing they all have in common is for their students is they try to keep them from bracing on, using the reins for balance, and bracing on the horse's faces. So moving your hips, it creates that motion. If you ever watch a rider walking on a horse, I mean, I could actually make this look like your hips are moving left to right, following that horse's gait.
Yep.
In the walk, and then you can even do that into the canter and get that 3-beat gait going. But what happens is people get behind it or get out a little bit. Maybe they get tired. Maybe their balance isn't that good at the time. Everybody needs to practice, and even natural riders have to work at it. They brace on the reins. So this is a great exercise. It's a core exercise for any discipline that you're able to reenact. You're able to be in a saddle, your own saddle. You can saddle it with anything you want. I put a racing saddle, I could ride it like a jockey. I put a stock saddle, I could rope off it.
Exactly.
So there's covers every base, and the idea started from a bale of straw, basically. So I just wanted more. I wanted more elements. Having the reins, being able to have soft hands, moving with your hips.
Right.
If jockeys, if we rode backwards, we would.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah.
We got to ride in rhythm with a horse's motion, and so does every discipline. The horses, they don't trot, at least not yet. And I'm trying to create a model that could do the walk, trot, and canter. And a lot of people say, well, how come you didn't do it on a trot? And the thing is, it would just not be affordable.
Right.
And I'm trying to keep the prices in line and where people can be affordable for them. But you can't exercise the trot. And if you were practicing off a bale of hay, just use your imagination.
Just use your imagination.
Yeah,
exactly.
So they don't have the 2 big trot, but if you get that rhythm going, and I tell people if they can get that head to bob nice and even in that rhythm.
Right.
But meanwhile, no, it's not bouncing you out of the saddle. It's not pitching you out of the saddle. But what are you feeling?
I'm feeling my muscles working, y'all. I'm serious. I'm feeling I'm going to be out of breath here in a couple seconds if I keep going.
And then when we have instructors, to give you an example,
right.
Like while you're in motion, and go ahead and, so I would be able say get your shoulders back,
right.
And your heels down,
Okay.
and your leg needs to be a little bit here.
Okay.
So it gives an instructor a hands-on opportunity
Right.
to fix you,
Yeah.
rather than being out in the arena and
Exactly.
having to deal with a horse that just wants to go back to his stall.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so great lesson horse. We have a lot of top riders, top clinicians that are using these to help instruct their riders during their lessons, their clinics, for all their students, their camps.
Right.
It's a great, safe way to iron out the kinks with that. For people with disabilities, it's really neat because it's not motorized, and I don't want them to be motorized. Ideally, it's to keep it as safe as possible. It's only going to go as fast as the rider. So for someone that's coming off an injury or a disability, it gives you the opportunity to work it safe. For me, I had a broken leg. I was riding the equicizer. Couldn't ride a real horse, but I'm rebuilding the muscles I need to get back to riding.
Get me back in the saddle. It's absolutely incredible. And I still, like you were talking about, just staying out of their mouth. I think that's a really, as we talk about that often too. I mean,
Yeah.
my biggest thing I'm always working on as well with my babies.
Me
with
too.
training boat is staying away from their mouth, using my body, and I think this is an incredible way, to practice that, so you're not doing the wrong thing out there with your kiddo, and they're going, "What are you doing?" At least, Althea is really forgiving. Of course, our babies are very forgiving too, but what a wonderful way to do that first here and really learn that feel and understand that so that you're doing it right out there with your kiddos.
A couple of top riders, and Terry Myers is one of them. Steve Lampett's another one of my biggest supporters, and they say this horse is a lie detector, and he tells on you. So if the horse is not in balance and not in rhythm, that's a message that you're riding your horse. So it really gives you an evaluation for yourself. If this horse isn't moving smoothly and in rhythm, it's you, the rider. It's talented. It's your fault. So
you point the finger back at yourself. That's always a good reminder.
and one quick thing I think that really neat, because it's not motorized. If we often get riders that have a certain disability that they're very limited on what they can do.
Okay.
They may have no trunk strength at all,
right.
and this part of your body, your core is the most essential part of your body. Without core, even your limbs, nothing works properly. It's all important exercise. We have a woman that's paralyzed. She's a quadriplegic that can even exercise on this, and there's no other machine that she's ever had to be able to do that. So if you couldn't create the motion, I can create it for you, and you can feel it.
And I can, yeah.
You can feel it. So it's giving you the essentials of the horse. Horses are healing, and they benefit, and so it's not a perfect simulator, but it's pretty darn close.
No, it's so lifelike and absolutely incredible. And again, my dear, you're a rock star. I'm in awe of you. And I guess here in a few minutes too, maybe you'll show us how to ride like a jockey.
Yeah, you want a jockey lesson?
Yeah, do you mind giving us a jockey lesson?
I'd love to.
Y'all up for that? All right, hold on 2 shakes, y'all. We'll be right back.